Okay. I'm all set over here, Matt.
Okay.
So you want to take it away? You want me to do a quick intro? You got
Well,
that?
either way, yeah, maybe do a quick intro, I guess.
Okay, yeah. So we recently came out with a payment plan feature. Long been on the list of things that customers have asked for. And so this year we got to it. So I'm happy about that. Um, Of course, it's a first iteration, like everything with Check Cherry. We think it's really going to help people increase sales, give customers options. We're excited about it. And we want to share kind of how it works. And quite frankly, there was more to think about than one would think with payment plan feature. And so there are some details and so on, but we're looking forward to hearing feedback and questions and all that stuff. And so I think Matt's going to do a demo and we'll go from there.
Perfect. So let me share my screen here. Um, okay, cool. So I'll just kind of start with the customer experience. With payment plans, there's a couple ways you can kind of do them. You might have cases where you want to give somebody, a custom option, but we're going to start with kind of the more automated workflow where, maybe you have online booking on your website and you just want to let your customers be able to book and choose a payment plan. So how that works, the customer kind of goes through the booking process like normal. Maybe they pick a wedding, they'll provide their info, choose a date. We'll choose a date kind of a little ways out. We'll say, maybe April 1st. So we've got a few months worth of time to work with. And they might have different add-ons, different upsells, different things that they choose. We'll put a venue in here. And once they get to the end of the process, they'll continue to see kind of the overview of what it is they booked, all of their details. Looks like we've got a couple of test lines on this one, but basically what's new, if you're kind of familiar with the normal Check Cherry booking process, what's new is going to be this area. Previously, they would have just two options, deposit, where they pay the deposit, and on this package that's set to just kind of a flat rate of 150 bucks. Or they would have the option to pay in full. And so what
And
we've added is, oh, go
Matt,
ahead.
if I just want to
Mhm.
interject, this to be clear, this is the last step on the online booking part
Correct. Yeah.
before it becomes a confirmed booking.
Correct. Yeah. So they're going through the online booking process. They haven't finished yet. They haven't signed. They haven't paid. And so at this point, I've got it set up so we've added a kind of another payment option beyond the deposit and the total balance, and that's you could think of this as four payments or the deposit plus three payments. So if I select that option, I'm going to be able to see three payments totaling 915 because I'm paying my deposit and between that date. And then once they click on it, once they click away, we kind of try to keep it compact. But once they click on it, we're going to show all the dates and amounts so that they can, so they know what they're going to be paying. You'll also see this option too. This is new. So enable autopay. And this can be set to default on, default off. We'll take a look at some of the options for payment plans in a minute. But with that, what I can do is basically as a customer, I can have all of my future billings automatically deducted. And so that means I don't need to return to the make a payment page or things like that. It's just gonna deduct from my card on file. And so we'll click next step. And at that point, it's going to show the payment options that are available. So worth pointing out, this is going to only be autopay compatible methods. So we'll take a look a little bit later at what that means. But if they choose autopay, it's not going to include something like a check option where we can't automatically deduct that from their bank account. So basically just you can kind of think of that as your credit card, bank account. Those are going to be your auto pay methods. And once they do that, they'll, looks like we've got payment processing fees set up to be passed along to the customer. And so we'll collect their cards, and I'm not actually going to make the payment, but basically at that point, this would become a confirmed booking. And so, and at that point, the customer is going to be on a payment plan. So, so that's kind of what it looks like from the customer side. Pretty straightforward. You can have different, different payment options that you give them, depending on what types of bookings you typically do. So, so let's take a look at how we go about setting this up. So to kind of set up your automatic payment plans.
Hey, Matt,
Yep.
somebody's saying Robert's saying it's hard to kind of hear you, basically.
Oh,
I mean, I
yeah.
can hear kind of decently enough. I don't know if it's just or something, but he says maybe, yeah. Um, but in any case, it
Okay.
seems fine to me, or doable to me, I guess. But
Okay. Um,
yeah, some Paul saying sounds fine on his end. Robert, I don't, was Robert in the car? Hey, Robert, maybe being in the car,
okay.
but
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe my internet's not as good as it usually is, or I'm not sure. So,
anyway, okay.
but yeah, so how you can kind of set these up is under manage and then payment settings. Um, previously we had these settings for due dates and things like that. Underneath that, you'll see a new option called payment plans, and that's where you can go in to set them up. And so right now, what we've got are a couple of payment options. So we've got deposit and final, that's kind of already been built in. Pay in full has already been built in. And so the new ones that we've added are deposit plus monthly payments and deposit plus split the balance equally. And so, those kind of sound similar, but they're a little bit different. So with deposit plus monthly payments, that's where you can basically give your customers a monthly payment plan. And so what that means is if it's 6 months away, they're going to have 6 payments. If their event is 12 months away, they're going to have 12 payments. And so it's automatically going to spread it over the length of time that that their booking is. And then split balance equally is if you would prefer to keep it a little bit, kind of more of a set number of payments. And so with that, you can decide how many payments you want to split it up into. And so if you choose that option, basically what that'll allow you to do is split it into 2 payments or 5 payments or however many you want. And you can have more than one of these payment plan options in your account. So if you want to have, a few different options, you're welcome to do that. And so right now I've got a pay up front, and then I've got a split it into 3 payments, and then I split it into 6 payments. And so when the customer goes to book you, they'll be able to choose from any of those options. So, CheckShare supports a lot of different, there can be a lot of variables in kind of how you have things set up. You might have different deposit amounts set on different packages, or you might have your due date set in different ways. So one of the things we added was kind of a try it out tool, so you can get a preview of how that's going to look in different scenarios. So right now I've got these 4 payment plans set up. And so this try it out is a quick way to kind of see what that's going to look like. So right now, I can pay $450 today. I can break it up into 3 payments. I can choose the 6 payment option, or the customer will be able to pay in full. And as you choose different packages, if they have different deposit amounts, we'll update the calculations to reflect that. So you can kind of play with different scenarios. Maybe you have a wedding gold, but you want to see what it looks like if you've got, $1,500, or, maybe their event is, much closer. You can get a preview of what payment options are going to be available then. So definitely recommend the try it out option. Kind of makes it real easy to see with your specific payment plans or with your specific packages, what it's going to look like to the customer. There's also, sometimes there are certain conditions where we can't necessarily show that payment plan. So the most common one is just going to be if the booking is before the final due date. And so to take a look at this, so right now under our let's go back to our payment overview page. Right now, we've got final payment due 7 days before the booking scheduled date. And so what that means is if the booking is less than 7 days before the booking's date, so somebody books an event for 2 days from now, we're not going to show all the payment plan options because it's just going to cause, more problems.
I have a question.
Yep.
Do you think that the monthly or the split payments equally is one better than the other? Um, does Check Cherry recommend one? Do you have any thoughts on
Yeah, I think I would say
pros and
of course
cons?
it depends. Yeah. Do you do a lot of real far out events? I think if you do higher dollar further out, the that monthly option might be easiest. But I don't know. Do you have a
Yeah,
recommendation?
no, I mean, I
Yeah.
think you probably talk to your customers and just kind of see what they
Hmm.
say or all that stuff. But I think the monthly is easiest to explain
Hmm.
personally, just to customers. And I think when you're talking to customers or when they're buying, if things are easier to understand, like that's better. Uh,
Yeah.
that being said, Check Cherry lays it out with the bullets to each dollar amount. You probably don't want to get, a $30 payment each month, or maybe you do. I mean, it doesn't sound, from a client as opposed to two bigger payments. But yeah, I mean, I think it kind of, I would probably, as a business owner personally, I would probably start with monthly and then see what kind of feedback I got. I don't know that I would enable to both of them.
Yeah, I
But that
certainly
being,
wouldn't do more than a handful. I wouldn't do, I mean, we don't prevent you from doing, I mean, you could probably do 10 different payment options if you wanted, but I think that's going to be really confusing to the customer when they see,
right.
a million different options. So I would probably do monthly or split. I probably wouldn't do both, and I would probably keep it to, just a handful of options.
Adam asks, are payment plan options shown in proposals?
They are. And so let's take a quick look at the proposal workflow. So originally we looked at online booking, but let's go ahead and create a new proposal. So we'll go ahead and create that same wedding gold package. We'll go ahead and set it out a ways. And we'll skip the customer, put a venue on there. And so now when the customer goes to review that proposal, this page is all going to look the same as before. No changes here. And then when they click accept and sign, they're going to see those same payment options. So they can choose that deposit, 3 payments, deposit plus 6 payments, total balance. And then again, they can choose the enable auto pay option if it's applicable. Obviously, if you're paying in full, that would not apply. One thing you can do with proposals that you cannot do with online booking, though, is you can manually adjust that payment schedule. And so if you go to the Manage Booking dropdown and look for that Adjust Payment Schedule, you'll see kind of an overview of what the options are. And so, we show the deposit amount is set to 150, the final balance due date, and there's a note here that the customer will be presented with just the default payment plan options. But let's go in and change that. So if I edit that, I can change those numbers, but let's go ahead and make something custom. So in this case, I'm going to do a custom payment schedule, and this is just going to be for this specific customer. And so let's do another, $250 due on January 1st. And another, February 1st, we'll do another $250. And then you can also, if you'd rather work with percents, we do have kind of a quicker way of doing that too. So if you'd rather just say 25%, 25%, 25%, you can do that as well. And so that'll let you edit the deposit amounts, the any scheduled intermediate payments, and then the final due date all in one place. We also have an option down at the bottom about how you want to treat autopay. And so kind of the default is going to be that the customer can choose whether to enable autopay or not. You can also make it required or you can turn it off. And so, so yeah, so you can do that. Tim has a question. Can the custom payment schedule be done without global payment plans being on? And the answer to that is yes. We'll just show, you can still change it to custom. And even if you don't have any other payment plans, you can still go in and set it up from somebody.
Okay. We also have Ashley. She says, upcoming bookings, can I opt into payment plans on their own, right?
For upcoming bookings, you would have to do that manually, and we'll take a look at what that looks like as well. So now that I have a custom payment schedule enabled, if I go back to accept this proposal, now I'm just going to see, because I kind of hard coded that as the admin, I set this person has a custom plan of this. That's going to be the only option for them. So they'll see each time, each date, each amount, and we made the auto pay optional so they can choose whether to enable that or not.
Yeah. And Robert saying payments are automatic. Yeah, there's an option to enable. There's an option to force requiring people to do auto pay. So yeah, they can be automatic and automatically hit on the due date.
Yeah, and Paul asks as well. So just to confirm, payments will not be automatically withdrawn unless customer opts in.
Yeah.
That's correct. You can force them to always use it, force them to never use it, or you can leave it optional. So kind of our default is that we make it optional, but you can, you can disable that if you don't like that feature or however you want to deal with that. So, and so. So yeah, so once they accept that, they're going to be good to go. And, depending on their auto pay settings, that'll be deducted automatically or not.
Adam says, how can we delete or edit the booking plus final payment if we require more than two payments? I don't follow that 100%. Does that make sense to you?
Let's see. I'm not positive on that one. Yeah, sorry, I'm not quite
Adam,
sure.
maybe clarify that and we'll get an answer or unmute yourself for a second and chime in. When they opt in for the payment plan, is it auto? Yes. So if they say enable automatic payments and opt in, absolutely. And Ashley, we answered your question. Did you hear it? Okay, you're good. So you step away. Okay.
Oh, I think my understanding, I think what Adam's asking is basically, can you turn so by default, we have a couple of things enabled. We have the deposit up front, then final payment due, and then we have pay the full balance up front. We don't currently have an option to turn those off, but that is, we've had a couple of requests for something along those lines. So my guess is that is something we will offer in the future. There's just a few edge cases that we need to make sure are handled correctly before we do that. So
Katie says, I was hoping this was like an Affirm Afterpay type deal.
So yeah, so chat with us after. So we do have a Klarna integration in beta. Yeah, reach out to us offline and we can get you in on that. So with Klarna, there's a fee for that to use that. So it's not
But it's more than credit cards, right?
yeah, I think it's like 6 or 7%. So it's, you can either pass that along to the customer or eat it or whatever. But yeah, we do have a beta of that. So it's a little different than this. This would be more of a payment plan that you're offering yourself. But that is something that we'll have something a little more official on soon. And so and then I guess to go back to Adam's question, as far as if you do set up a custom payment schedule, that is the only option they'll get. So if you're sending somebody a proposal and you offer kind of a custom plan of some sort, and you don't want to offer the pay in full, you can do that. So cool. Yep, David is also interested.
Yep, David, just chat with us. Yep, if you're interested in the Klarna beta, just chat
Yeah.
from within your account. and
And
we'll go from
so,
there.
yeah. And so, so once somebody accepts their proposal, they finish the online booking process. At that point, they're going to be a confirmed booking. And for confirmed bookings, you're still going to have that option to adjust the payment schedule. So I can still come in with my confirmed booking and set different, if they agree to a payment plan, you'll be able to see all that information right here. You can change dates, if something happens and they ask you to push a date back or change the amount or something like that, you can do that. Um, and so you can make changes anytime. Um, you'll notice on this particular one, autopay is not available because the customer doesn't have a payment method on file. And so because this proposal was never, we never had a chance to collect a credit card on this particular user. In that case, we're not going to be able to do autopay, but as long as you've, previously collected a credit card from them, there's a good chance they'll have a card on file, and you can set that up as needed. Um, I wonder if we have one that does have one on there. No, I don't have a good example of this one. Um, yeah, so a couple of questions about Klarna. So Klarna is basically a kind of a buy now, pay later service. So if you've seen, um, on websites, Affirm, Klarna, Afterpay, they're all real similar. And they basically, what they do is they give the merchant, they let the customer basically buy on credit, and they auto deduct from the customer's bank every, few months or however the whatever the timetable is. And and the merchant gets the money up front.
Yeah, the benefit is the merchant gets the money up front. The customer then pays over time. Um,
The
in my
downside
mind,
is higher fees than,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, almost all of our customers get payment before the event. And cards have a lower fee. So it seems, that being said, I mean, it is an alternative financing, and the more plans or the more payment options you offer, I think in a lot of ways that, that helps increase sales, which is good.
Yeah. And so David asks, how can you make the customer aware of the payment plan option if they don't have a card on file for proposals? For proposals, it's real easy. We'll show the plan because that's what we're doing with the proposal is collecting that information. So as long as that due date's out in the future, the customer will have the payment plan options, and then once they select their payment plan, then they can save the card on file and everything. So
Another question, can we offer a percentage off if autopay is set up?
not currently. It's a good idea
Nope.
though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
What happens if autopay fails?
So if autopay fails, well, let's take a quick look at a couple other things on autopay. So
Sorry.
first off, so if we go back to our payment settings page, I just kind of want to call out, you'll see within your account, you're going to have your customer payment options. And you'll be able to see with this little tag here, which payment methods are autopay capable. And so in our account, that means credit card, that means bank account. And the reason some payments are, obviously we need to be able to bill the payment method on file. We also need to be able to bill it for an arbitrary amount. So we don't, we have a good idea of what that payment amount is, but we don't know the full payment amount up front. So we're not able to do auto pay with something like PayPal, where they require you to specify all the payment amounts up front. So so with CheckSherry, that's going to be credit card, bank account / ACH if you're on Stripe or on CheckSherry Payments. And if you're on Stripe and Square, it's going to be credit card.
So Adam
If
also
they
says, hey, can I discount if I pay in full? Yeah. No, not yet.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I think it makes sense to
Falls
do
into
something.
flex pricing.
Yeah. And then another issue. So a lot of times we see that people pass along credit card processing fees to their customers. So they'll do, 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction, things like that. that will get applied to your autopay payments as well. So if you're charging your customer 2.9% plus 30 cents, that is going to get passed along to them. So just, worth keeping in mind. We'll assess that at the time the payment happens. So if you change your payment processing fees, partway through a payment plan, we're going to use whatever processing fee you're charging at the time. That's what's going to get passed along to your customer. So, and then yeah, so you had mentioned failures, Judd. So basically, if auto pay payment fails, by default, we'll kick out an automated message to the customer. We'll send an automated email to you, letting you know that it failed, and then we'll take them off that payment plan so that so they can
Resolve the issue.
Yeah, figure out how you want to handle that basically.
Yeah. And we probably have some more work to do on, making that smoother. But I think the point I guess I would like to make is just because somebody agrees to do auto pay doesn't mean you're guaranteed to get the money.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
There's a lot
payments
of
can
things that
fail
can
for all
happen.
sorts of reasons.
Yeah.
Over the balance. It can be things like
Card expires or who
card
knows.
expired. Yeah.
Or they can block transactions or something. I mean, there's just point being, it doesn't just because somebody agrees to autopay does not necessarily. That being said, I do think, doing automatic credit card payments on balances would help smooth out cash flow for a lot of our customers. And so
Yeah.
obviously that's something that's interesting. Obviously you want to visit your contract and like how that might impact, if somebody postpones or cancels or something, I don't know. But maybe it's not too different than what they do now. But yeah, I mean, I think definitely higher dollar amount purchases over monthly payments is, less to or easier to swallow, should I say.
And the other thing to keep in mind, let's see, what am I doing wrong? How to put that in the future. The other thing to keep in mind is that your customers, they within their booking, they always have a make a payment tab. And so we've always had the option to where they can make an arbitrary payment. So they can come in and pay the full balance, make a partial payment, things like that. One addition to the make a payment page now, if they're on a payment plan and they've got, scheduled payments upcoming, they'll be able to see all those scheduled payments. They can also pay in advance. So, maybe if you don't have auto pay enabled, and you just want to make it easy for them to pay, when they come to the make a payment page, they're going to have a pay now button here that's going to pre-fill in this amount for them, or they can just make an arbitrary payment anytime. So that continues to be an option. And what we'll do with partial payments or any payments that are received, it will always be applied to the oldest payment. So, if I pay, regardless of the payment amount, if I come in and make an $810 payment, it's going to be applied to this oldest payment first, and then, whatever's left might get applied to that. And so just something to keep in mind. It's always going to be applied to the oldest scheduled payment. Let's see. So Tim asks, which brings up a question. So if they're on a payment plan with autopay and the booking is set to canceled or postponed, will the payments be stopped? And the answer to that is yes. So anything canceled, anything in postponed status, or of course, if you delete the booking outright, that would not charge the customer anymore.
Yeah, next one is about automated messages effectively on the road.
Yeah, so let's take a quick look at automated messages. I think that's a reasonable segue. So we've got a few automated messages that come into play with these. So within your account, we've already added a couple of new automated messages. So these are already set to go out and basically notify business owner when autopay payment fails and notify customer when autopay payment fails. And so in both of these cases, these are set to go out already, and they're just, generic. We were unable to process your scheduled autopay payment. Please make a payment here. You can customize that and make it a little more personal if you want, or you can leave it alone. You can also set up new triggers. So say you want to send reminders of an upcoming payment. This payment due date will apply to both scheduled payments and that final payment. So you can use this to send your customers, reminder emails, warning emails like, hey, just a note, just a reminder, we're going to bill you in 2 days. Or if you have auto pay turned off, that might be a reminder that, hey, you have a payment due in 2 days, and visit the website to make that payment. We also have a couple of conditions that we've added. So you can say for your scheduled payments, is this the final payment, or is this one of your intermediate payment? Probably not, not generally useful, but you may have a reason to kind of, customize between those two. And then of course our balance conditions let you, just send that out if it's been paid or not fully paid or things like that as well. And so the other one that's new is the scheduled auto pay payment failed. And so if you wanted to set up additional emails for whatever purpose when a failure happens, that's the trigger you would use for that. So there was a question: if someone elects to use autopay or split payments, is there a way to configure our automated messages to notify us? I don't think we have a condition for that. Yeah, didn't really, not something.
Didn't think about it. All right.
Yeah. So I'd be interested in learning more about how you would handle it differently and stuff. But yeah, I could see that being something we have in the future. But yeah, we don't currently have a special automated email that would do that. So there's a question about Zelle, and so Zelle is what we call a manual payment method. And so with Zelle, they don't have the capability for things like automated payments, anything like that. Zelle is going to be more of a manual type of thing, where if you receive a payment via Zelle, you have to go into CheckCherry and enter that. So that means it's not going to work with AutoPay. That being said, you can still, if you have payment plans and you want to, have your customers get reminded to pay you, they can come in anytime and select Zelle as a payment option, but that's not going to be automatically deducted from their bank.
Adam asks, basically, other than doing it manually, can he do 2 payments, for example, 90 days prior, and then the final payment 14 days prior? And the answer is no right now. And also, Adam, I would ask, does the monthly or split payments work for you? Do you think that'll work for your customers? Kind of like scale of 1 to 10, how important that is that to you? That type of stuff. I'd be kind of curious. And we kind of want to keep things as simple as possible, I guess, on CheckCherry's side.
Let's see. And then one thing I will point out, so under the payment settings page, you can, of course, set your final due date. So, you can set your final payment 14 days before.
Right.
But we don't currently have like a 90 days, percentage option. So, like I said, we're, I'm sure we'll be adding features and kind of collecting feedback and, and things like that. So.
It looks good, man. I mean, I think it's really going to help.
And then looking at my notes, I think those were the main things I wanted to cover. So if there's any other questions.
Feel free to
what's
chat.
the one? So one other thing that question we've had already was, what happens if the total changes? So say somebody comes in, they accept a proposal, they agree they're going to pay $250 a month, as the event gets closer. And then they call you up and say, hey, I want to add something on. Basically, what's going to happen then is we're not going to change these scheduled payment amounts automatically, but you can do so manually if you want to, if you want to readjust it based on the new total. But what is going to happen is anything left over, so to speak, is going to apply to that final payment amount. So if the total goes up by $100, that's going to get added on the end here. And we kind of, went back and forth on how that should be handled. I think kind of where we came down is we're a little uncomfortable changing scheduled payments on people automatically. We just think there's potential for a lot of confusion and a lot of, misunderstanding for why different payments were different amounts and things like that. So you're welcome to go in and manually readjust it. We may add some tools to kind of make that a little bit easier in the future, but for now, you would have to, if you wanted to adjust those monthly payment amounts, you would have to make that change as the admin.
Yeah, and just a reminder how we build software. It's like, hey, we kind of put something out which is good and covers what we've already learned from customers. But we'd love to hear your feedback. How could it be better? What's working well with customers? What's not? All that stuff. Yeah, just chat with us always from within the account. Matt, it looks good. I mean, anything else? Does anybody else have any other questions?
I do.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so this is about the ability to make the client pay for the processing fee. By the way, I love that. It's been working out really great, even though I know you guys don't really recommend it. But is there a way to make a change specific to an event without it changing the global settings?
So in other words,
As far as the payment processing fees.
you don't want to pass along payment processing fees to all customers, but you want to do it.
Well, I do. So like I just got burned on a Venmo and a PayPal because I realized I didn't turn it on for those, which I will. But let's say I have a client that's $4,000 and I really want this event, and I'm kind of like thinking, I don't want to do anything to upset this client, this particular client, and I want to turn that off just for this particular client. Is that possible without having to change it globally for the next 48 hours and then going back in and unchanging it?
I don't think it's possible right now. How often does that happen? I'd be kind of curious on that.
I've just started using the feature. I just figured it out. I didn't even know this was something you guys had updated, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. So I love it. I've implemented it, and I had, I think, a few people that kind of skirted it by doing the Venmo and not having it processed as a friend, and the PayPal. And I was like, oh, especially the PayPal, it's exorbitant, like 3.5%. So I'll catch that next time. But I thought, oh, would there be a way for me if there was just a client that I was like, oh, this
Right.
one I don't mind. I don't mind taking the hit on this particular one.
There's not. So one thing I will mention, there is an option under the proposal settings to change the payment methods. So that is something that some people like to do. Like maybe you'll turn on or off payment methods. Maybe you only enable PayPal or Zelle for certain people, or things like that. So you can do that. I would say in as far as the payment fees themselves, we don't have a way to do that. You could add, I guess you could add like a discount or something like that, if you wanted. But yeah, we don't have a way to just turn off or adjust the payment fees on a specific proposal.
Okay.
We got a question on Klarna Afterpay. So short answer is, if you're interested, we do have, is it Klarna that we're in beta? So chat with.
Yeah, so Klarna is in beta, and the reason we're kind of still keeping it in beta, so historically, buy now, pay later was meant for products, not services. And so it wasn't an option. It wasn't something we can add. Kind of from the research we've done, it seems like Klarna would work for services now, and that they're allowing services. But we haven't gotten an official word on that. So we're kind of keeping that in beta. But yeah, with the Klarna option, what that's going to look like, for you, if you do want to experiment with that and try it out, is it's going to be another payment option under your payment settings. So in addition to credit card, bank account, we can enable that Klarna as an option. And then when they go to make a payment, that's going to be one of the payment methods they see as an option.
And the merchant pays the fees, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
So it's a higher percentage than credit cards.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be very popular, but I don't, I mean, I
think
guess.
it's 6.9, maybe 7.9, 6.9, one of those numbers. So it's a little on the expensive side, but you know, and again, you can configure, you could pass those fees along if you wanted. You know, we do have the option to pass fees along, so that is an option. I'm not sure what most people would prefer. You know, I think the advantage to offering something like that is you know, even if you lose a little bit of revenue, maybe it helps you close more deals or close deals you wouldn't otherwise. So so yeah, just let us know
Yeah.
and we'll get that enabled in the next day or two for you.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for showing up. We appreciate you. And there were some nice, kind words. Hey, this is a great addition to Check Cherry, and, you know, keep adding awesome stuff. So really appreciate the support. Hope it makes you guys more successful in 2025. And Matt, thank you so much for hosting and doing a great job. So
Yep.
great
Awesome.
night, everyone.
We'll see you guys next time.
All right, take care.